Dear students, the second prediction is selection methods will change. In future, the selection methods will change. In search of competitive advantage, some organizations have turned to custom design tests. There would be a customizations in the employment tests. Test publishers and users. There could be issues around the regulations of the test publisher and their compliance to the technical standards. Because test publishers and their users are now increasing, and in future there can be a complications about the regulations and the compliance of the test to the technical standards. Next is the personality questionnaire. In future, the use of the personality questionnaire would be increased. Personality questionnaire, perhaps the tools most open to abuse when used inappropriately, and it will be important to use it correctly. If you would use it inappropriately, obviously it would give you the wrong judgment. So you have to use it in a correct way. What personality questionnaire are? You must have a capacity to judge the quality of personality questionnaire, to use them correctly and in the appropriate circumstances is important. If you are a future manager and you want to use a personality questionnaire in the future, you have to use it correctly, and you must know that when you need to use personality questionnaire. The next is the interviews. Still, interview are the most common way of selecting candidates. These are intended to remain the most popular selection methods. Still, there are a number of organizations which are using only interviews for selecting candidates. Academics are now coming around to supporting the structured interviews in some of its form. Means if you are using an interview, it must be the structured interviews. The structured interviews can help you more. The validity of the interviews, when it is structured interviews, done properly in better than it has ever been. But that doesn't mean that the worries about fairness having gone away. Still there are worries about the fairness of the interviews. Still there are worries about the validity of the questionnaire and the interviews in the selection methods. Technically, a major issue concerns the construct validity of interviews. What kind of constructs, what kind of concepts you are using in the interviews, and how valid such type of constructs are. To what extent do interviews measure social skills, motivation level, communication skills, commitment, interpersonal skills, and many more. So you must need to know that what interviews are going to measure. Then you have to answer a few very important questions about the interviews. How to put together and use a structured interview. How you need to use it. Then second question, how you can integrate the interview data with other data. Because interviews are not using in isolation. You are using interview with other data set. For example, personality questionnaire, assessment centers, 360-degree assessment. So you must need to know that how to integrate the interview data with other data. Then there is another question. How much weight to put on the interview? What is the weightage of interview? What are the percentages of the different questions in the interview? So these questions are very, very critical if you would like to use the interviews in the future of recruitment and selection. And these concepts will be changing in future as well. The next method is assessment center. The assessment centers will also change. Assessment centers will increase in popularity, and their use will continue to expand from graduate and manager both down to supervisors to the floor workers, as well as upward towards top managers and partners in the professional firms. Their purpose will probably continue to be a mix of assessment and development. It is not only assessment, it can be used for the developmental purposes as well in the context of organization. So, you must be clear on your policy of assessment versus development. Whether you are using assessment center for the assessment or you are using it for the development. So you need to be very, very clear. And you have to explain this clarity to your participants as well, because it is ethically wrong that you are not explaining it to your participants. Constantly evaluate your process for designing, running, and monitoring your centers in terms of fairness and best practices. Because fairness is very, very important in the recruitment and selection process. Last but not least is a 360-degree assessment. What is 360-degree assessment? This is a very interesting concept in the recruitment and selection process. The use of competence-based testing, you have to test your competence from yourself, from your peers, from your managers, from your subordinates even, and from customers who are dealing with you. So you have to develop such kind of a questionnaire which can measure your competence on the 360 degree. And that is one of the best way to judge your competence. So you need to use multiple methods in future for the selection of the candidates. Therefore, in future, the selection process will change. And you need to manage according to such kind of changes.